The righteous mind, why good people are divided by politics and religion. Why can it sometimes feel as though half of the population is living in a moral universe? Why do ideas such as fairness and freedom mean such different things to different people? And why do political views which conflict with our own often seem illogical? Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt reveals how the conflict, self-righteousness and hypocrisy can make it so hard for us to get along, and they are actually natural expressions of our mind. Drawing on the 25 years of groundbreaking research, Haidt shows how moral judgments arise not from reasoning but from intuition, and why we evolve to be this way, moral minds and blinds. But this book will help you see and understand your friends and enemies and fellow citizens as never before. If you want to know why you hold moral beliefs and why people disagree with you, get a copy of this book and start reading. The Social Contract, revolutionary in its own time and controversial till this day, this work is a permanent classic of political theory and a key source of democratic belief. Rousseau's concept of the general will as a mode of self-interest, uniting a common good, and the submission of the individual to the government by a contract inform the heart of democracy and start as its own most contentious component today. Also included in this edition is the Discourse on Political Economy, a key transitional work between his discourse on inequality and the social contract. This new transition offers fresh insight into a cornerstone of political thought, which is further illuminated by a comprehensive introduction and the notes. Get a copy of this book, Social Contract. You would never regret coming across one. The origin of political order from pre-human times to the French Revolution. Virtually all human societies were once organized tribally. Yet over time, most developed new political institutions, which included a central state that could keep the peace and uniform laws that apply to all citizens. Some went on to create governments that were accountable to their constituents. We take these institutions for granted, but they are absent or unable to perform in many of today's developing countries, with often disastrous consequences for the rest of the world. Francis Fukuyama, the author of the best-selling End of History and The Last Man, and one of the most important political thinkers, provide a sweeping account of how today's basic political institutions developed. The first of a major two-volume work, The Origins of Political Order, begins with politics among primate ancestors and follows the story through the emergence of tribal societies, the growth of the first modern world in China, the beginning of the rule of law in India and the Middle East, and the development of political accountability in Europe up to the eve of the French Revolution. Drawing on a vast body of knowledge, history, evolutionary biology, archaeology, and economics, Francis Fukuyama has produced a brilliant, provocative work that offers fresh insight on the origins of democratic societies and raises essential questions about the nature of politics and its discontent. What more can I say? Get a copy of this book by this great philosopher. The Republic is a Socratic dialogue authored by Plato around 375 BC concerning justice, the order and the character of the just city state and the just man. It is a Plato's best known work and one of the world's most influential works of philosophy and political theory, both intellectually and historically. In the dialogue, Socrates discusses with various Athenians and foreigners the meaning of justice and whether the just man is happier than the unjust man. He considers the nature of existing regimes and then proposes a series of hypothetical cities in comparison, culminating in Callipolis, a utopian city-state ruled by a class of philosopher kings. They also discusses aging, love, theory of all forms, the immortality of the soul, and the role of the philosopher and the poetry in society. The dialogue setting seems to be the time of the Peloponnesian War. Get a copy of this book. Pluto is a great philosopher. Kindly share this video to all social media platforms and to at least 10 of your WhatsApp contacts. And most importantly, make sure you are reading. God bless you and bye for now.